Добрый вечер, день, утро. Еще раз продолжаю все-таки этот стрим. Сегодня не планировал уже выходить в стрим на тематику iOS разработки, но не могу не выйти, хотя бы один денечек наверстать. А прежде чем мы начнем, я хочу поделиться некоторыми ссылками. Ам, Первая ссылка это ссылка на мой YouTube канал. Кстати, если вы смотрите это на YouTube, то все эти ссылочки я прикреплю в описании. И в описании YouTube будет ссылка на мой Twitch канал. Вторая ссылка это на Twitter или на X. Третья это на Threads. И четвертая на Donation Alerts. В принципе, по каждой из них вы знаете, что там есть. Это YouTube канал, мой блог в Твиттере. Я там сейчас редко пишу, но иногда бывает заглядываю. Потом Threads, я там достаточно активно пользуюсь им. И Donation Alerts или Alerts. Если хотите что-то задонатить, поддержать, то добро пожаловать. В прошлый раз я закончил день 37. Мы разбирали Observable, User Defaults использовали и делали, в принципе, завершенное приложение. Если проверить Можем мы тут проверить или не можем? Не можем тут проверить, но я скажу просто, что в прошлый раз, в принципе, ничего нового из того, что у меня уже сделано, ничего нового не было. Давайте я проверю. День 36. Это просто какая-то ерунда была. Угу. Окей, закоммитим. Это закоммитим. В общем, да, я в тот раз не закоммитил изменения, которые у меня были за день 36 и за день 37. Поэтому я сейчас делаю коммиты. iOS 17 update. День 36. Приложение называется iExpense, да? Commit. И второе. Это день 37. Тоже мы закоммитим. Что я тут сделал? Я сделал... Так, перенес экран Add View. Navigation View поменял на Navigation Stack. Добавил Observable. Ну, в общем, да, обновил до актуального состояния. Сейчас переходим на день 38. Что у нас здесь подразумевается? День 38, это он и есть. Еще один проект закончен. И так далее. Wrap up — это у нас челлендж, да. Вот эту вещь, iExpense, я уже прошел. Хотя тут новое появилось. Какое из этих утверждений верно? Классы, которые используются это Observable автоматически. Ага. What changes by SwiftUI? Observable, конечно. Ну, остальное я уже проходил. Что мне здесь интересно, это сделать вот этот wrap-up. И посмотреть, что у меня уже сделано, а что не сделано. Первое, что мы улучшаем, напомню, что приложение — это учет расходов, личные, деловые. Итак, ну и из этого добавления в список этих расходов и возможность удалять из списка расходов. Да. Так, если есть возможность, напишите, как видно, слышно, все ли хорошо, ничего ли не сбивается. У меня вроде бы по пульсу все должно быть хорошо. Так, первое. Добавьте предпочитаемую пользователям валюту вместо того, чтобы всегда использовать доллар. Я это уже сделал на экране. Так, у меня другой проект открыт в Xcode. Эм, Я просто вчера... У меня были инсайты большие насчет того, как мне организовать одно из моих приложений. Я очень этому обрадовался. Но для этого мне нужно как раз еще тоже в веб залезть. Сделать простенькую HTML, CSS страничку. Может, даже там JavaScript не нужен будет. Но это тоже все равно требует времени. Так, я это сделал. Это в Expense Item View. В Expense Item View я добавил, что формат будет .currency, то есть элемент текст с содержанием item.amount. И дальше параметр формата имеет значение .currency, код локаль, .current.currency, знак вопроса, identifier. Потом nil coalescing и строка USD. Это мы сделали. Далее, измени expense amounts в content view to contain some styling depending on their value. Expenses under 10 should have one style, expenses under 100 another, and expenses over 100 a third style. What those style are depend on you. По-моему, я это тоже делал. И до 10 зеленые, до 100 оранжевые и больше 100 красные. Это тоже сделано. For a bigger challenge, try splitting the expense list into two sections. One for personal expenses and one for business expenses. This is tricky for a few reasons, not least because it means being careful about how items are deleted. Это я тоже сделал, но я сделал это просто в лоб. То есть лист. Я хочу сейчас переписать. Мне нужен вот expenses, да. И есть же у них тип expense item, да. Я могу сделать, например, enum. Ой, не enum, а struct. Нет, по секунду. Enum. Expense type string codable. И здесь будет case personal и business. И тогда тип будет... Хотя не буду, это того не стоит. Я знаю, как это все делать. Мне нужно идти дальше. В общем, да, это тоже сделано. Получается, что сейчас я соберу проект, чтобы он правильно работал. Это убираем. Все. День 38 у меня тоже закончен. День 38 закончен. День 39. Поехали. Что мы здесь делаем? Когда я первый раз написал этот курс в 2019 году, Apple TV только что запустились. Тогда шоу, о котором все говорят, было, называлось «Для всего человечества», которое драматизировало альтернативную историю с 69-го, с историей посадки на Луну 69-го года. Так что я сегодня, значит, новый проект на эту тему про NASA Apollo Space Program. 5 тем, в которых изучим Container Relative Frame, Scroll View, Navigation Link и так далее. Давай смотреть. Introduction. Неинтересно, уже это было. Resize an image to fit the available space. Изменение размера изображения для того, чтобы оно вмещалось в допустимый размер.
When we create an image view in SwiftUI, it'll automatically size itself according to the dimensions of its contents. For example, if your picture is 1,000 pixels wide and 500 pixels high, that's how big it'll appear on the screen. This is sometimes what you want, but mostly you want it to appear at a smaller size. So I'll show you how that can be done. But I'll also show you how to make an image fit some amount of the user's screen based on relative sizing rather than a fixed sizing. First things first, add an image to your asset catalog in your project. I have one here already called example. Choose your own now, drag it on in there, remember its name or call it example if you want to. The only requirement is it be big, bigger than an iPhone screen. Once that's done, go back to the content view. Let's draw that image onto the screen. I'll replace this code here with just image example, like that. You'll see it fills the screen fully. Now, when you're using fixed image names like this one here, like example, you can actually replace this string with an Xcode constant that's made for you from your asset catalog. So I can say image.example, lowercase e now, and get the same result here. It's much safer than using strings. There's no typos and stuff. It's checked by the compiler. Even in the preview here, you can see this is way too big for my little iPhone screen here. You can see it goes right the way edge to edge, including under the dynamic island and so forth. You might think, well, images have the same frame modifier as other views, so I'll just make it smaller by saying it's got a frame width of 300 and height of 300, and that's not going to work. Nothing's changed here. Your image will still appear to be its full original size. Now, if you want to know why, you want to change Xcode's preview mode. It's one of these options down here. This one on the left here, the blue one that's active right now, is the live mode. That's the default mode. Change the one to the right, which is selectable. This mode here. And now you're going to see we have this blue box here. It's now showing us at the selection level every view on our screen. We can't interact with it anymore. We can select stuff. If you want to go back to the live mode to get it back to the original mode, but for now, stay in selectable mode. We'll see this blue box, and this blue box matters. That is a 300 by 300 blue box. That is the exact frame. What you're seeing here is the image's frame has been set correctly, but the content of the image, these pixels here for Singapore Changi Airport, are still shown at its original size. Now, try changing it to this. Same frame, but then dot clipped. And now you'll see things clearly. Our image view is indeed being sized down to 300 by 300, but it's forced to stay inside there. The contents were overlapping fully, unresized, but the box was small, and now it's being clipped inside that frame. That is not really what we wanted, okay? We want the image actually sized down to that size. And to do that, you want to say, actually, I'll use a resizable image. And now it's better, but only just, right? The image is now being resized correctly into the 300 by 300 box, but it's probably looking squashed. My image was not squared, so it's slightly squashed. If I change it down to, say, width 200 or width 100, you'll see exactly what I mean here. It's keeping all the pixels being drawn, but in increasingly small space. To fix this, we've got to ask the image to resize itself proportionally, and that's done using two modifiers, scale to fit and scaled to fill. The first of these, scale to fit, means make sure the entire image fits inside its frame, even if it means leaving some parts of the view empty at top and bottom or left and right. On the other hand, scale to fill means fill all the frame with a picture, even if that means some parts hanging out. Try them both yourself, see what I mean here. We'll do a resizable image, then scaled to fit. And now you'll see the blue box remains square, that's this frame here, but the image contents sit fully inside there with some blank space at top and bottom for me. That's a correct aspect ratio for my picture. Alternatively, scale to fill. It now overlaps the picture slightly because it goes beyond, it overflows, the picture frame. Top and bottom are exactly on, but left and right are too big, so they go slightly over. So both useful depending on what you want here. Now, all these work great when you have a fixed size in mind. I want exactly 300 by 300, whatever it is. It does a really good job here. You can see it'll fit into that frame with scale to fit perfectly. But sometimes you don't want that. Fine, rather than you saying exactly 300 points wide or high, you want to say actually be 80% of the width of the screen. So like most of the screen, but not all the screen, for example. And rather than having a specific frame like this, SwiftUI's got a completely different modifier called container relative frame. But let's get the exact result we want. Now the container part might be the whole screen like it is here, but it might also be part of the screen. For example, the view's immediate parent. Maybe there's a bunch of other views in here, some text and some other images in a V stack, for example. Is our immediate parent is the frame we're working with here. We're going to look into much more of this later on in Project 18, all about layout and geometry. But for now, we'll make it do exactly one thing to make this image be 80% of the available width of our screen. So we'll leave resizable, we'll leave scale to fit, and we'll change the frame to be container relative frame. And I'm going to say the axes are dot horizontal, and the length, I'll say, give me the size and the axis coming in, and then send back size star 0.8. We'll get that. So it's now correctly making sure it is exactly 8/10 of the width of my view here. Let's break this code down a little bit. What it's saying is we want to give this image view here a frame relative to its container size. In our case, there is no container, it's the whole screen, so relative to the whole screen width here. And we're asking for just a horizontal sizing. You can do both if you want to. We're not doing that right now. More on that in a moment. So give me a relative horizontal size compared to my parent. And then SwiftUI will run this code here, this little closure. We're given a size and an axis. Now for us here in this code, the axis will always be horizontal. That's the only one we're working with. This matters more, of course, if you have relative horizontal and vertical sizes. So we'll say, okay, here's the axis vertical, here's the axis horizontal. What should the size be both ways? For us, just horizontal, that's fine. This size value is the actual measured size of the parent view. In our case, the full screen width will be given to us as some number. And it's our job to send back the size we want for this axis, our horizontal size. So we're sending back 0.8, 80% of our container size of width. Again, we don't have to specify a height here. This is enough for us because SwiftUI knows enough already to automatically figure out the correct layout for our view. It knows the original width, it knows our target width, size 0.8, it knows the height should be scaled to fit, it'll do a great job automatically for us.
Так, что по этому уроку? В принципе, все это мне известно. Единственное, я не использовал еще никогда в своих проектах контейнер Relative Frame. Но это полезная штука. Я даже сейчас это заскриню. И напишу в threads в линейку про так, секунду. Надо клавиатуру еще правильную взять. Из дня 38. Не так. День 38 напомнил про модификатор контейнер relative frame. SwiftUI. Картиночка. Публиковать. Ой, какой-то 38-й, это же уже 39-й день. Да, день 39, поэтому редактировать. Так, тогда напишу день 38. Так, полетел тред. Точнее, пост в threads. Летим дальше. Полезный модификатор. Мне часто хочется сделать что-то на тему какой-то процент от контейнера, содержащего какой-то мой элемент. Но я почему-то не помнил про этот модификатор и думал делать через geometry что-то там. Ну, а так хорошо. Так, следующее. Как scroll view позволяет нам работать с пролистыванием данных.
You've seen how list and form let us create scrolling lists of data. But for times you want to create a scrolling area of arbitrary views, some views you've made by hand, for example, that's you want to turn to SwiftUI's scroll view. Now, scroll views can scroll horizontally, vertically, or in both directions at the same time. And we can also tell SwiftUI whether it should show the scroll indicators. That's the little thin scroll bars that flash briefly, giving the user an idea of how big the content actually is. When we place views inside scroll views, it'll automatically figure out the size of its content, so users can scroll from edge to edge easily. For example, we can say in here, let's make a scrolling list of 100 text views. I'll say as a scroll view, inside there will be a VStack with spacing of 10 points. Then I'll do a for each of 0 to 100. And then inside there, I'll just do text of item $0 in a font of title, like so. As you can see immediately, we get this nice scrolling list. Let's scroll all the way down, up again, perfectly. Now, if you run it back and try it yourself, you'll see it behaves a little bit similarly to list and form in that it respects the safe area automatically. So our list starts directly below the dynamic island up here, making sure it isn't obscured by default. But as you scroll around, it will go under that, like so, just like lists and forms do, which is really nice. You might also notice that it's a bit annoying having to tap in the very middle of the form. If I run this back in a simulator, you'll see what I mean. The scroll view is tightly around its content. So this scroll bar is right here next to our items. You try and scroll here, it won't do anything. You've got to try and click in the middle instead to make it scroll, which is obviously a bit annoying. To get that behavior, make it fill the full screen, you want to modify your VStack here to take up more space while leaving the default center alignment alone. So I'd say this VStack here has a frame with max width of .infinity. So it will now occupy the full width of the screen automatically, like that. So it's still centered, but I can click here and drag down. The scroll bar sits on the right now, which makes more sense, like that. So this all seems really straightforward, but there is an important catch you have to be aware.
Секундочку, мне нужно закапать в глаза, а то они у меня опять начинают капризничать. Поэтому я буквально на 15 бандитских секунд и вернусь в эфир. Так, я вернулся,
Which is
продолжаю.
when we add views to a scroll view like this, they get made immediately, straight away. To demonstrate this, we're going to make a simple wrapper around SwiftUI's built-in text view. I'll make a new view up here called custom text, which is a view, capital T in text, which is a view. I'll give this thing a text string to show, and then, oh, hello, dogs. And then for its body property, we can say simply just show a text view of whatever's in our text string. Yeah, no, text interesting, isn't it, dogs? Yeah, 1, 2, good dogs. So I'll just do text to text. It's a simple wrapper here, okay? But we're doing that because we'll say inside this thing, there's an initializer. Initializer will assign text to text. That's the Mexico, by the way, the autocomplete initializer. But inside that, I'll also say print creating a new custom text. So we can see when SwiftUI makes this custom view as our code runs. It's being shown automatically for us, which is a nice way of doing it. And now, in our for each, sorry, I'm just doing the treat, sorry, dogs. In our for each, we'll make a custom text rather than the built-in one. So we'll say down in our code, for each here, let's do custom text with the text of that item instead. And it'll look the same in the canvas area. See the same text appears, scroll around, nothing's changed here. But when you run it back in the simulator, you'll start seeing log entries coming in Xcode log here. And look what you see. Boom. And I'm scrolling around up and down now. It's printing the new custom text every single time just by launching the app. I haven't scrolled at all, but it's made every custom text for the entire scroll view up front, which is not ideal. And so if you want to avoid this happening, what you've got to do is look for
lazy
stacks. We're using a VStack right now.
Lazy VStack.
We've seen VStack and HStack before. There's a lazy VStack and a lazy HStack. And these can be used in exactly the same way as a VStack and HStack, but they load their content on demand as they're shown. They won't make the view that's actually about to be shown on the screen, as it will minimize the amount of system resources being used. So in this case, we can swap our VStack for a lazy VStack like that. Literally the word lazy before it, okay? Press Command R now, and it will still have to make some. I have to make 17 of them, right? But once it's made those ones, it makes the rest of them dynamically. So as I scroll around, you'll see that down here it's adding more text automatically. As I scroll, I was making bigger in Xcode. It makes them on the fly as I scroll around, not all at once. Just literally adding the word lazy means our code now runs a bit more efficiently here. Now, although the code to use regular and lazy stacks is the same, there is one important layout difference, which is that a lazy VStack like we have right here will always take up as much space as available in our layouts, whereas a regular stack like this only takes up the space actually needed. This is intentional because it stops a lazy VStack from changing its size constantly as it makes new views. If it loads a new view and it's too wide, it has to make the whole thing bigger again and again and again. It will jump around constantly, scrolling around. It'd be unpleasant. With a regular VStack, it makes all its views up front, and so we can size them more correctly and be correctly sized for those views. Whereas this thing has to expand to fill the available space. One last thing. If you can, like I said, adjust your scroll view so it can be horizontal rather than vertical. As I hear, scroll view dot horizontal, and that's fine. It's now a horizontal scroll view. But make sure after you've done that, you switch your stack direction. You know, saying scroll horizontally, then giving it a vertical stack will just not get what you want at all. You want to say, actually, it's now a lazy H stack because it's a horizontal scroll view and it'll place it horizontally. This frame can now go away because it's not important anymore because it's going horizontally. That will work better, all being well. Let's find out. There we go. You can scroll around. You can see the scroll bar's down here. So again, it occupies all the screen space by default, so it won't jump around. It's being laid out like that. There we go.
Тоже принципиально ничего нового, это все и так знал. Pushing new views into the stack using navigation link. 5 минут. Четыре минуты и 4 минуты. Досмотреть или не досмотреть? Ну, давай досмотрим. Значит, помещение новых видов на стек с использованием Navigation Link.
SwiftUI's navigation stack shows a navigation bar at the top of our views, but it also does something else. It lets us push views onto a view stack. In fact, this is really one of the most fundamental ways of navigating around in iOS. Here in the Messages app, for example, I can tap a contact and a new view slides in. I can either swipe to go backwards or press this little back button to go backwards. Now, this view stack system is very different from the sheets we've used previously. Yes, they'll both show some kind of information, right? It's a new screen of stuff going on here, but there's a difference in the way they show them that affects the way users think about them. Let's start with some code so you can see it in action. I'll get rid of this default code here and say we have a navigation stack. In there will be a text saying, tap me. And I have a nav title here of just SwiftUI. Now, this text is just static text here. Of course, pressing tap me doesn't make it magically a button or anything, right? It's not a button right now. It doesn't do anything when it's tapped. We're going to make it so when you press on tap me, it will show a new screen on here. This is done using a new view called navigation link. Give this thing a destination, what to show when it's pressed, and something can be tapped, the label, and it'll take care of the rest for you automatically. Now, one of the many things I love about SwiftUI is we can use navigation link with any kind of destination view. Yes, we can build a wholly new custom view inside here to push to. We can also push straight to some text or straight to a color, for example. So here, I'm going to say, let's replace this text thing here with navigation link, tap me, and then inside there, say text detail view, like so. And now when the code runs, you're going to see it's blue. It's looking like a button on iOS. When I tap this thing, boom, in slides this text view saying detail view. Our title fades away, becomes small part of this back button, and then we can swipe to go back or tap this button to go back in a quick way. So we get a full navigation stack being pushed on here with a new view when it's pressed. Very, very easy amount of code. Now, if you want something other than a simple text label, as one here, you can provide two trailing closures with navigation link. For example, you might say, that's my thing to push to, with a custom label of, I'll do a VStack saying, this is the label, and then text, so is this, and then an image, let's do system name of face.smiling, for example. Put the whole thing in a font of large title. So a completely custom label now, and that whole thing becomes our tappable button to move to the next screen. So both sheets and navigation link allow us to show a new view from the current view.
Я уже все равно засыпаю, уже не... Ну, ничего нового не говорит. Но я просто посижу, короче, с закрытыми глазами.
But the way to do it is just different, so you choose them carefully. Navigation link here is great when you want to show details about the user selection. So you saw in messages here, I've chosen Johnny Appleseed here. That means I want to go in and dig deeper into this person, show me more information about them, show me their message history here. Whereas a sheet is for unrelated content, like a settings window or a compose window. You aren't navigating through your data, it's something else entirely. The most common place you're going to see navigation link is actually inside a list. And there, SwiftUI does something quite marvelous. I'm going to modify our code a little bit here. Let's go back to, actually delete the whole thing. It's much easier. Let's say here, we've got a list counting from 0 to 100 with one row coming in. Inside there, I'll make a navigation link with a title of row, some row number. And the thing to push to will be a text of detail row, like so. Now, when we run this code back, you're going to see our rows in our list like before. But now you'll also see these little gray disclosure indicator arrows on the side here, little right-facing chevrons here. This is the standard iOS way of telling users this row can be tapped. Select this, and I'll push a new view in from that side. So it's telling you navigate to one direction, so you can guide them through here. And SwiftUI is really, really smart here. It knows we're inside a list. It knows a navigation link is a view being pushed. Make the arrows be shown here. And if those weren't actually navigation links, if we take out this nav link entirely, for example, just have the text view in the list, then the chevrons go away. They no longer present new views.
Хорошо, тоже ничего нового нету. А работа с иерархическими кодируемыми данными. Следующее это как расположить view в пролистываемой сетке. То есть это два вот этих видео осталось. Ну, по 4 минутки. Давай.
The Codable protocol makes it easy to decode flat data. If you have a single instance of a type, or an array, or dictionary of that type, things just work. However, in this project, we're going to use more complex JSON. We'll be an array inside another array using different data types. Now, if you want to decode this kind of hierarchical data, the key is to create separate types for each level you want to decode. And as long as the data matches the hierarchy you're working with, Codable's happy to decode everything with no further work from us. To demonstrate this, we're going to make a...
Так, у меня, конечно, энтузиазм есть все это посмотреть, но сил физически нет. Не хочется мне потом еще раз время тратить это пересматривать, поэтому я оставляю все как есть вот здесь. Подвожу итог. Сегодня я говорил о том, что я делал последние несколько дней из этого курса. На прошлом уроке, что было сделано, это что-то было. Что-то я делал. Observable работал, да. Сегодня мы посмотрели 38-й день быстренько. Там ничего такого не было. И 39-й, вот, пожалуйста. Смотрим введение в него. Осталось 2 последних видео. И это будет день 39. Останется еще 60 дней пересмотреть. Но будем стараться. Будем стараться. Я может быть, сделаю так, что я не буду прям вот так вот стримить то, что я смотрю. А, я не знаю, просто я вот смотрю и что-то вношу же по ходу изменений. Поэтому мне не получится просто так именно стримить отдельные изменения, которые я вношу. Так что, так что ладно. Хорошо, дорогой зритель. Спасибо тебе, что был здесь. Хорошего тебе дня, вечера, ночи. А я пойду спать, потому что уже почти 3 часа утра ночи. Так что да, спасибо еще раз. И увидимся в следующий раз. Пока.